Hello, everybody. My name is Taylor White, and I will be talking about classism today. Just a heads up, I'll be looking down at my phone. I have a timer because I keep running over time, and my notes as well, so I can stay on track. So, for starters, let's define what classism actually is, right? So, it's based upon, or basically, classism is a prejudice or a favor towards a certain person or group who falls underneath a certain social class, right? We have three primary different social classes in our society, which is lower class, middle class, and upper class, right? So from poor to rich, and all of that is dependent upon your financial income, your wealth, or what money you may or may not inherit, right? Um, so I know some people may not believe this, but your socioeconomic status can truly affect your opportunities, your your life. I mean, just honestly, a lot of things, right? Uh, that American dream goal isn't just about working hard, but there are other factors that you have to consider too, right? Um, so with different social economic statuses comes different experiences depending upon what they are, right? So I do want to bring up an article I had to read for another class. It's very interesting. So if you have the time, I definitely say go check it out. It's really great. But it's basically about a story of two young boys. Both have this a disability, which is and they're both dyslexic. However, both of them, though only a few miles apart, have or are under different socioeconomic statuses, right? One is poor, one is rich. The rich one has both his parents in his life. The poor one only, he's at home with a single mother, right, and a brother too. So either way, basically their journeys are completely different in how they're achieving and trying to go about getting a grant from New York. They actually offer grants to students with disability to go to another school. So, say if you're at a poor public school that's not, providing your student with disabilities enough tools and access things to help them truly progress their education and succeed, they can go and try for a grant to, go to a private school that does offer all that good stuff, right? So with that, of course, unfortunately, I don't want to say of course, but unfortunately, the young boy who was considered poor did not receive what he needed to receive in order to, get the grant um, to go off to another school to truly provide him the tools and essential, methods and materials that he really needed to succeed in his education. But of course, the young boy who had all the wealth was able to, right? Um, so with that, that just goes to show again, your socioeconomic status does affect many different things, especially your education. But that is not the only thing, right? But however, I do plan on combating this for sure in my classroom. For one, I would be self-aware, right? I'd acknowledge that not everybody's coming in on the same playing field. Not everybody has the same resources and tools that their peers might have at home, let alone I have at home, right? And I wouldn't hold any judgment to them either. I wouldn't just assume a child isn't doing the work because they're lazy, but maybe they just don't have the resources they have, they may need at home, right? So I definitely keep that in mind. I'd also want to implement a social experiment in the beginning of a course, like on the syllabus day, the first day of class. But basically, a couple of other teachers have done this to kind of broaden their students' view of each other, right? So basically, it's this quick little experiment where they line the students up and they call it a statement. And if a statement applies to them, they would step forward, right? So any statement, so that would allow them to help, in school versus so, for instance, living in a two-parent home or having a home cooked meal every night, having internet access, having a laptop at home, various things and tools and resources that would help a child education or impact it, right? So they'd ask all these questions and had students, step forward, and obviously it looked different once you got to the end, right? So it just basically helped open up those students' mind and awareness about what their privileges may look like in comparison to their peers. And I think that would help kind of make the class feel a little bit more comfortable, just be aware of each other and not to just make assumptions and judge, right? I'd also make sure assignments were accessible to students. So if I required like an essay or anything that was typed up, I'd make sure I'd provide the tools in class. So maybe like at least two times in the classroom, I'd bring out laptops available for students to type up their paper if they don't have, transportation and get to school early or, can stay late, things of that nature. But I make sure students were able to have the resources they need to get while in class, while they're at school, right? For whatever particular assignment. I also share resources with them, right? So something I know a lot of Georgia State students struggle with is knowing what resources we have at Georgia State that are free, and be without knowing, they can't take advantage of them. So for the longest, I did not realize career services help with resumes. So if I had never known that, I could have been struggling to have a nice looking resume, or going off and paid someone whoever knows much for the resume. So I definitely keep them aware, especially when it comes to if I ever were to teach high school, college time, how to find scholarships, things like that, how to write a good essay and all that stuff. I'd also want to teach some valuable skills that will mean a lot and go further. A couple of my teachers actually did this. So we did resume writing. I did cover letters in some of my language arts classes. So making sure I'm trying to incorporate somehow, even if it's like a day out of a month or something, some valuable skills that will ultimately help these students further along the line, right? And that is how I will combat classism in my classroom.